Hi, and welcome to Hull & Hull TV. I'm Suzana Popovic-Montag, the managing partner of Hull & Hull, a firm which specializes exclusively in estate, trust, and capacity litigation. Here at Hull & Hull TV, we explore estate and planning issues as they may affect you. Today I'm joined by the co-founding partner of Hull & Hull, Ian Hull, and together we are thrilled to have with us the Honourable Roy McMurtry. Mr. McMurtry is the former Chief Justice of Ontario, a High Commissioner to Great Britain, the Attorney General for Ontario, and he was deeply involved in the repatriation of the Canadian Constitution, together with the creation of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. We are very, very thrilled to have you join us.
Well, I'm very delighted.
Thank you very much. The Chief is the author of a book entitled Memoirs and Reflections, and we have him here today to discuss his stellar career with his life that has just been amazing.
Very lucky to have been given a number of very interesting responsibilities over the years, and to be given the responsibility as a counsel at Hull & Hull certainly ranks with anything I've done over the years, because we, the Hull & Hull family, and you as well, have been close friends for many years.
That's wonderful.
Well, the chief had the responsibility of chasing me down the beach when I was 2 years old, keeping away from sharp stones. So we've had a long and wonderful friendship with the chief and his family and his kids. And we are thrilled as a firm to be able to have you as our counsel and to be the mentor to many other young lawyers in our firm, which is a great thrill and an opportunity. And I know in the book, mentoring is something that you dealt with and talked about some of the phenomenal mentors that you had in your legal career.
Yes, well, I devote a better part of a chapter to the late and great Arthur Maloney, who is one of Canada's finest criminal defense lawyers. In my early days at the bar, I did a lot of both criminal and civil litigation. And although Arthur has been gone for almost a quarter of a century, and therefore, unfortunately, probably forgotten by many people, he was a great inspiration to me. We worked together on many cases, and of course the profession was much smaller when I joined it more than 50 years ago. And so mentoring was more available. But Arthur was a great inspiration. He was also a federal member of Parliament. But we developed a very close friendship, which I've always regarded as a very good opportunity for me. He was a great jury lawyer.
Is that right?
He loved jury cases, and he and I would routinely drop in to see him at his home on a Sunday night and to talk about a case. And I probably was quite presumptuous, but he always enjoyed it, and so I'm delighted to recognize him in the book. But mentoring and getting to know more senior people in the profession was much easier in this day because of the smaller size of the profession, as I've already stated. But and I had not expected to go into politics, but you never know who's waiting around the corner. And certainly moving from the 17 years of litigation, including a lot of criminal litigation, to the Attorney General's office was a great experience. And we were a minority government, and first minority government in many decades. So I didn't expect necessarily to be in that job for very long because we could be defeated at any time by the opposition. But I did a lot of legal work for the Toronto Police Department, so I adopted the motto of the homicide squad. We're here for a good time, not a long time. And so as it turned out, I was there for 10 years and 10 very busy years.
So, Chief, we've gone from the transition from a minority government, and you stayed in politics for 10 years. What do you think was the secret to success in, A, the government staying alive and politically, and you staying in politics and not going back to your professional legal career?
Well, Bill Davis was a very good leader, and he created an atmosphere, that a very conciliatory atmosphere generally in the legislature. And unlike a lot of leaders of government today, I mean, he let cabinet ministers really run their ministry. And to me, there's too much micromanagement today. But he gave me a lot of freedom, and it worked out well. And sometimes I took advantage of it when I announced, without consulting cabinet, that we were going to create a bilingual court system in Ontario. Now, that was problematic in 1975. It wouldn't have been a few years later. But, I mean, Bill, I don't think I would have gone into politics if it had not been for Bill Davis and our friendship and mutual trust. And again, the relationship between the opposition parties and the government was much more cordial and civil than it is today. And even my opposition friends from those days say that the Davis years were the golden years of Ontario government. And I know, Ian, you were involved later on and quite actively in Bill Saunders's campaign, and certainly going from the law into politics is quite a change. But for me, it was a very interesting change, and I never really came back to the practice of law until I retired as Chief Justice of Ontario, except for a 2-year period with my late brother Bill's firm. But as I say, I was very lucky and given a lot of responsibilities, both in politics and as a senior diplomat, and then 16 years as a Chief Justice of both the trial courts and of Ontario.
So, Chief, when you transitioned, obviously your work in the ambassador role was very different than what you'd come out of politics in some ways, I'm sure, just because you were out of the country. But when you came back to the practice of law, by virtue of your appointment as Chief Justice of the Ontario Court and then Chief Justice of the Court of Appeal, what were some of the steps that you took to sort of reacquaint yourself with the practice of law?
Well, I felt quite comfortable having practiced for a number of years, and I was pleased to have the opportunity of practicing with my late brother Bill, and I had a rather unusual practice for those 2.5 years. And I was my first client when I returned was Ben Johnson's coach after Seoul, Charlie Francis.
Right.
And so I was
thrown right into it.
So I was thrown right into the deep end with the inquiry after Ben Johnson was stripped of his medal, and I, strangely enough, I was also the part-time chair and CEO of the Canadian Football League. And that was something that my brother Bill kind of encouraged. And when I said I couldn't be full-time commissioner, and Bill loved sports, and so he thought that would be an opportunity for him to run the league. But, and there were other inquiries and whatnot. But they were interesting days, and then I hadn't thought of being a judge, but it happened, and the person who encouraged me to be a judge had been my first Deputy Attorney General, the father, a very good friend of yours, John Callahan, the late Frank Callahan, and he persuaded me to apply to the judiciary. And so as my former Deputy Attorney General, I became his Associate Chief Justice, which I think many senior officials in government would regard as a good transition.
So I think this is a great opportunity for us to pause our discussion for today, and we'll continue on in the next segment. Thank you very much, Chief, for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you.
Well, thank you for your invitation.
And thank you, Ian, as well. And thank you for watching Hull and Hull TV.